Trans ist jetzt Mode.
Natürlich ist das Quatsch. Klar outen sich heute mehr Transmenschen als früher, aber das liegt nicht daran, dass sie dem coolen Trend hinterherlaufen.
Schauen wir auf die Zahlen transidenter Menschen, die in Hessen einen Antrag auf einen Geschlechtswechsel in ihren Dokumenten gestellt haben. Während vor 10 Jahren, also 2012, 90 Personen einen Antrag auf Personenstandsänderung bei Gericht eingereicht haben, hat sich die Zahl der Antragstellenden im vergangenen Jahr mehr als verdoppelt. 2021 haben in Hessen 217 Personen einen Antrag auf Personenstandsänderung bei Gericht eingereicht.
In the last decade, referrals to gender reassignment have increased sharply. The majority are young. The healthcare and interest groups have worked for fast tracking.
But it turns out that kids who were born in 1996 and later are different from those born, say, 1994 and earlier. I mean, it's a surprisingly sharp cut, equivalent to what we find with birth year 1946. You know, the post-war world really was different to grow up in. And I believe, so I'm drawing on work by Jean Twenge, but I've also added, she and I are working together, and I've added a lot. What happened is that if you were born in, say, 1990, you didn't get an iPhone until maybe around 2009 is when teenagers started getting it. So if you're born in 1990, you didn't get an iPhone, a smartphone, until you were 20. And you didn't get on social media. You might have been on Facebook partly, but you don't live on social media until you have your own smartphone. Whereas if you're born in 1997, you are 13 in 2010 when you might get your first smartphone. And you might get on Instagram in 2012 when huge numbers did. So I believe Gen Z is defined by the fact that they got smartphones and social media during early puberty. There's a lot of research pointing to early puberty, around 11 to 13 for girls, 12 to 15 for boys. What's coming into your brain then is really important because your frontal cortex is wiring itself up. So when human beings are raised without much independence, but yes, with a phone, and they spend their childhood just interacting with a screen, and especially social media, I believe it messes up cortical development. The girls in particular, the rates of anxiety and depression are up much more than 100% since 2010. The rate of self-harm, hospitalization for self-harm, is nearly tripled for preteen girls. So Gen Z is in big trouble. They're hurting, they're fragile, they're not doing well in the workplace, managers are finding them very hard to work with. So we have a generation that's running off the rails.